Hey everyone, my name is Justin Davis. I'm a junior technical head at A.C.E.S, which stands for Association of Computer Engineering Students. We are a student club from D.Y. Patil Institute of Technology, Pune. I hope you all are doing great. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. I think many of us have heard about phishing, stealing identities and stuff, but today we are going to take a deeper look into it. Here's a list of all the things we're going to look in today's video. And if you find some part interesting, feel free to skip to that part. But as all responsible adults should do, is watch everything from beginning to the end. Anyways, jokes apart. First, let's see what phishing means. You can go ahead and read these definitions, but to explain it to you, I would say phishing scams you or tricks you into giving personal information, financial information. And this can happen in various forms as we're going to take a look ahead. And it can also happen on multiple levels, like phishing attack can be targeted at a personal level, as well as huge enterprises could be targeted. Now, to really understand what phishing means, we must also know the impact it has had on us and why it is necessary to educate ourselves about phishing. Here you can see the sheer magnitude of destruction phishing has caused and is still continuing to do the same. Facebook and Google were scammed for $100 million between 2018 and 2015, but that in a creative way. The scammers just mailed the tech giants and asked for it, and I mean literally. So what happened in case of Google and Facebook was there's a Taiwan-based company called Quanta Computer, which actually does business with Facebook and Google. The scammer created a fake company of the same name, opened, maintained, and controlled various accounts at bank in Latvia and Cyprus in the name of the company. So in the scam, they created fairly convincing forgery emails using fake email accounts which looked like they were sent by the employees of the actual Quanta in Taiwan. So this is a type of email phishing, and also this is a type of domain spoofing, which we are going to take a look ahead. Anyway, they sent these phishing emails with fake invoices to employees at Facebook and Google who regularly conducted multi-million dollar transactions with Quanta, and these employees responded by paying out more than $100 million to the fake companies' bank accounts. As you can see on your screen, there are CEO phishing scams. We'll take a look into this up ahead in the video, but I would really like to bend your attention to the Twitter scam. In this, the employees of Twitter were hit with a spear phishing campaign. And spear phishing means scams that targeted towards a particular entity or a person rather than sending out thousands of phishing emails. So the attackers were able to gain access to some of Twitter accounts, including accounts of Microsoft founder Bill Gates, American President Joe Biden, and this subsequently raised concerns about the level of access Twitter employees and subsequently hackers have to user accounts. Twitter then confirmed by tweeting out this following. You can have a read ahead, but I would like to point out the specifics. Like the hackers targeted 130 Twitter accounts, tweeted from 45, accessed DMs of 36, and downloaded Twitter data of 7. So you can see just a spear phishing campaign can be this deadly. Just to put numbers to the words I said before, here's some statistics that will give us some insight into phishing campaigns happening now. Organizations. 75% of organizations around the world experienced a phishing attack in 2020. And needless to say, the pandemic has given the people behind these attacks a new creative outlet to steal people's identities, make them click on dangerous links, and so on. Data breaches. 22% of data breaches involve phishing. If you want to know more about data breaches, there's a great blog that we have written on our website. I'll put the link to it down below. Then we move on to business mail compromise. The, the news about that we saw about Facebook and Google, all those come under business mail compromise. And it has seen an increase of 15% in the last 2 quarters of last year. You come into Google Safe Browsing. Data from Google Safe Browsing shows that there is 75 times more phishing sites than there are malware sites. That is a multiple of 75. I also like to show what Google Safe Browsing is. If you go onto here, it's an anti-phishing site. We'll come on to it later. So these links are all the links of live phishing websites that are live now. So if I suppose I take one of these websites, which one? Yeah, take this, open a new tab. If I paste this link on this website, if you have an antivirus, it will show you this page that website is risky because this website has been reported as a phishing website. But if you say visit anyway, then comes the Google's protective layer. This is the Google Safe Browsing layer, which I was talking about earlier. It says deceptive site ahead and blocks us from going into that site. So those kind of links have shown a 75% more increase, 75 times more increase. Delivery 96% through email, 3% through website, and 1% through SMS or call. It just shows that more phishing attacks are happening through mails. Next, we'll take a look ahead at different types of phishing. Spear phishing. Think of spear phishing as professional phishing. Classical phishing campaigns send mass emails to as many people as possible, but spear phishing is much more targeted. The hacker has either a certain individual or an organization they want to compromise. Phishing or voice phishing. In voice phishing, the phisher makes phone calls to the user. The purpose is to get personal information of the bank accounts through phone. Domain spoofing. Domain spoofing is when cybercriminals take a website name or email domain to try to fool users. The goal of domain spoofing is to trick a user into interacting with malicious email or a phishing website as it were a legitimate website. Think of domain spoofing as a con artist who shows someone fake credentials to gain their trust before taking advantage of them. This is what happened in case of Facebook and Google. Next, social engineering. Users can be manipulated into clicking questionable content for many different technical or social reasons. We'll look into social engineering in a bit ahead. Content injection is a technique where the phisher changes the content on the page of a reliable website. This is done to mislead the user to go to a page outside the legitimate website where the user is then asked to enter personal details. Link manipulation. When the user clicks on a deceptive link, it opens the phisher's website instead of the website mentioned in the link. Hovering the mouse over the link to view the actual address stops the users from falling for such link manipulation. Next, website forgery. This has increased in the last couple of years. Forged websites are built by hackers, made to look exactly like legitimate websites. The goal of website forgery is to get users to enter information that could be used to defraud them. Here we will take a look into some examples of link manipulation and how a link can be manipulated. The first link here is the legitimate link. The second link is a phishing link that redirects you to a phishing website. The first link you can see that it's myuniversity.edu /rename. This slash indicate that it's a subdirectory. Whereas on the other hand, here it is myuniversity.edurenewal.com. So the original website is myuniversity.edu and under that we have renewal. But here on the other hand, the website name is edurenewal.com rather than myuniversity.edu. So you can see how a link can be manipulated. So the scammer or the phisher registered a domain name edurenewal.com he used for phishing. And under that we have the IDN homograph. IDN stand for Internationalized Domain Name Standard. Here we'll see the example of Amazon. The legitimate address of Amazon is amazon.com. Whereas one can use the same spelling, but rather than using the English letter A, they can use a Russian letter A or some other language which looks the similar but can be used to phish users to their phishing websites. Shorten links or URL shortening is a technique on the World Wide Web in which a URL can be made substantially shorter and still direct you to the required page. But phishing scams have taken advantage of this technique to mask their phishing website with the help of the URL shortening services. Here, for the sake of the example, I've taken this Wikipedia page. You can see it's a big enough page, and I have shortened it using a URL shortening service called Short URL. If was live link, if I would hover over this link on the bottom left side of the window, I would see the actual link where it would redirect me. You can understand why shorten links technique was introduced, because some messaging apps don't allow, there's a limit on certain number of characters that you can input, and if the links are so big you can't enter any other text. So hence shortened links were introduced, and now this technique is being used by scammers to mask a phishing websites using this link shortening. Here are some, and here is how we can tackle it. There are websites or services like check short URL or unshorten it, where you can input a short URL and it expands it and shows you the real URL or the actual URL. And you can see the different URL shortening services like .tco, which is Twitter's own URL shortening services. Go.gl is Google's URL shortening service. Bit.ly is a famous URL shortening services. amzn.to is Amazon's URL shortening service, and there's many more others. This is the end of part 1 of the video. Hope you enjoyed it and hope it was informative. In part 2 of the video, we'll look at some of the classic examples of phishing mails, how we can identify such phishing campaigns. We'll look at some of the anti-phishing sites and a bit more. So head on over to part 2 of the video.